Cloud. Okay, recording. We're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, we had so much fun last week that we thought we would do it again. So here we are. We're happy to see people here with us, which is always exciting when we have someone to talk to. So we're kind of calling this the Georgie and Patty Show. We do have a theme song. Maybe we'll reveal that later this week. As that's coming. So I hope you all had a really great weekend. I was telling Patty before we got on this call today, there's a river that I typically go and walk at every day. It's getting a little more crowded in the woods these days with other people enjoying the outside. But sometimes when I'm walking along there, I find these little painted rocks. So I'm walking and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to paint rocks. I'm going to create a hashtag. They're going to say, like, you matter. I'm going to do a big thing on Instagram, and on the back of them, I'm going to number them all so I can track where they are. And then as I travel, I'm going to take them with me and plant them all over the world. It's going to be like the best idea ever, just to create some connection and stuff with people. So I get myself some rocks. I bring them home. Now, my mind, these rocks are beautiful. They're like the rocks that I see at the river when I pick them up, right? I get home. I start painting the rocks. I'm a terrible rock painter. Terrible. These rocks look nothing, absolutely nothing like what I have imagined in my mind. Like, I'm thinking, how hard can this be? Now, painting the base coat, not so bad. Writing on them, horrific. So I was thinking about last week when we're talking about being creative and how we do things, and so often in our business, it looks so great in our mind. It's like the best idea ever. So beautiful. But man, let me tell you, maybe tomorrow I'll bring some of my unbeautiful painted rocks. But what I realized though is I still like painting the rocks. It's a nice activity to do with my children. It's just sort of stress relief, mindless thing to do. So I'm still gonna paint rocks. However, I'm not sure it's going to turn into the movement that I thought, that in my mind I had imagined it to be. So.
Maybe the question is whether or not you're willing to invest 10,000 hours in becoming good at painting rocks.
No, but what I'm willing to do is get my children to do it because they're really, really artistic. Like, I look at theirs and I'm like, wow, that looks great. Maybe I need to use the brush you're using. Maybe that's the problem. No, it's not. It's not the brush. It's the user. And that's totally true. Am I willing to get good at it? No, I'm not. I could, but yeah. So yeah, like that. If you set them out and people found them, they would appreciate them for the thought. Yes, that's probably true. That is true. And I just thought, wow, in my mind, like, I think the thing about it too is in my mind, I was really, really, like, I was certain. I'm like, there was no doubt that I couldn't go home and paint this rock to look exactly like it is in my mind. And the funny thing about it is, like, I've gone to quite a few paint and sips. I often look and I'm like, I got that. I can do that. Like, I'm there's no doubt. And then I start painting and I'm like, yep, this is going to be another Georgie original. So it's interesting how we can kind of think it's so certain. And then the reality's a little bit different. But so that was my my fun weekend, but I hope you guys all had really great weekends too. Yeah, are the rocks a Pinterest fail? Possibly. But maybe it becomes ugly rock painting. I don't know. Maybe it could be its own movement. Who knows? Who knows? But with that, I'm going to let my lovely co-host take you into something very exciting today, where we're going to talk about some different kind of levels in business and how to fix your marketing.
And as I was mentioning to Georgie earlier, the rock story is just such a great lead to what we're talking about this morning. On so many levels, including what I imagined the slide deck would look like when I was finished, and what it actually is. That said, our topic for today about how to fix your marketing, why isn't my marketing working, what do you need to do to make marketing that works, is so important. It's absolutely critical. And this is a big problem. We talk to so many people who are working so hard, who are trying things, who are investing time, investing money, and having things just not work out. And it's a terrible, frustrating situation to be in. It's a little like looking at all the pretty painted rocks out there going, what's wrong with me? Why can't I paint my rocks to be that nice? How come my rocks aren't working? That kind of a thing. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of intense for a Monday morning. Sorry, not sorry, because I think it's important. But what we're going to talk about is the journey from never heard of you to paying clients, which is kind of the core of marketing and sales. The idea of cold, warm, and hot, which might be an easier way to think about what you're doing and when you're doing it. And we're going to look at some natural principles and this idea of learning to love the levels. And I'm going to show you levels, and I've got this amazing matrix, chart, table, whatever you want to call it. Makes me very excited. Hopefully you'll love it just as much. Oh, let's start, before we get into the more complicated thing with the big table, let's just ground ourselves in the beginning of let's not overcomplicate things. And too often, this is kind of the trap that people fall into, is overcomplicating something that should be simple. And I would invite you, with anything that you're doing with your sales and your marketing, to keep this core transaction in mind. For those of us who offer professional services of some sort, we're working directly with clients. This is what we do. We work with clients. And to keep this in mind, that your business, when you strip out all the complexity, comes down to these 4 things. There's you as the professional, the service provider, the expert, the coach, the freelancer, the person who provides skills, expertise, help, assistance, accountability. There's a lot of things that you might provide, but it's you. Core of your business is you doing a thing for a client. And your clients are people that have a problem that they're struggling with that you can help them with, or they have something that they want that you can help them get. And you offer them some sort of a service in order to help them meet that need. So you have a service that you provide, your clients provide money for it, and that's the exchange. You do something valuable for your clients, they pay you some money. Do this often enough for enough money with enough clients, and you have a successful business. This is the very, very simple core of things. And if you can get this part right, your business will thrive. This is the mission. This is the goal. It's not all that complicated. When you grow a business up and out and make it bigger, you have lots of clients. You might have more than one service. You have lots of revenue. Still just you. Maybe you have some people helping you. Even a large business really starts at this very core and just grows out. More people providing the services, more clients, more money. This is the whole. This is the whole. This is the everything. Let's start there and keep that in mind through everything. And in order for that to work, you need to attract the attention of people who have never heard of you before and turn them into paying clients. That's the mission. They have no idea you exist. You need to get their attention. And then in between attention and getting paid is the mysterious blue arrow. We've broken this down into 3 stages. You may have heard of lead generation. This is often what we think about as marketing. This is getting the attention to start with. And in order for a person to be, on this blue arrow moving towards you, for it to be, a lead, to use kind of a technical salesy kind of term, is you need to be able to contact them in some way. Ideally, they've raised their hand and they've said, hey, I know you exist. I'm interested. Here's my contact information. So you have a social media connection with them where you can reach out to them individually. You have an email address, you have a phone number. number, you know where they live, you can go knock on their door, that kind of a thing, right? So that's the first stage, is to get their attention. The next stage is what we'll call a sales process, and I use the word process in here for a reason, is that this can take some time. And in here, once you already know that somebody's interested, you need to build a little bit of know, like, and trust. This is something that we talked about with on our interview with Kevin Knevel, and he brought up, this is Bob Berg is the fellow who came up with this know, like, and trust. And Bob's statement about this is, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer people to people that they know, like, and trust. And this is a core of what we teach, what we believe in terms of business, is that you want to build that know, like, and trust. And that in this sales process, it's education. We're basically teaching our potential clients how we can help them, how our services will help them get what they want, or solve their problem. And this is the piece of this. This is the middle piece of this arrow, is this longer sales process. This is a relationship building kind of a piece. This is where you get to understand your clients and what they're looking for. They get to understand who you are and what you have to offer. That's the middle piece. And then the final piece is you're making them an offer and they're going to buy something. That's where they become a client. So this is that natural cycle of, from never heard of you before to happy paying client. You might want to look at this in terms of temperature, is that you're moving from cold through warm to hot. And people arrive at a different temperature. So for example, if you have a client that absolutely adores you, and they refer somebody to you, that person is coming in already feeling a little bit of trust. They may have gotten some information from the person who referred them, and they may be coming into you already in that kind of warm place. And if somebody is actually looking for what you do, they may be a little bit warm. So people move through this cold, warm, hot, and it can be really helpful when you're talking to people to kind of get a sense, where are they on that scale, and to move with them in that way, to meet them where they are. Big piece of making your marketing successful is to take a look at who your potential clients are and meet them exactly where they are. Tell them what they need to know for the particular temperature or stage that they're at. So, anything you wanted to add to that, blah blah, Georgie?
No, I think you're bang on, and when we look at, where our leads come from, they can come from so many different places. And I know as we continue talking and sharing more information, we'll dive into that a little bit further too. Like, how can you use social media for generating leads? How can we use not just the one-on-one stuff for building know, like, and trust? How do we educate people using what we have available, especially with the current climate that we're in? How can, when sort of change is presented to us and something we may feel like we have no control over, how can we take this information to adapt? And I think that's what I love about what you're sharing, is that it is very adaptable. It's it's fundamentals, so no matter what the environment, it applies.
Yeah, it's just, when you think about this, if you think about yourself, when you buy something, you'll recognize that this happens, sometimes faster, sometimes a little more slowly, but this is what we go through when we make a decision. It's like something gets our attention. We learn a little bit about it. We have some questions we need to know. We need to feel a little bit of know, like, and trust with the service provider. And it really matters in a relationship business. This matters a little bit less where you go and get your gas. If you're selling widgets, this is part of the reason why it's important to take marketing advice within context. What works for anonymously selling widgets over the internet, or selling gas or sugar water or something like that, does not necessarily help somebody who's in a relationship business providing a service. It's a different kind of business, different kind of context, different relationship with the client, and it requires marketing that and sales process that fits with that. So that's something to keep in mind when you're evaluating a certain kind of marketing for your business. It's like, does this fit for the kind of business that I'm in? Or did this idea come from the people who sell Coca-Cola? because sometimes it just doesn't fit. So this is the natural cycle. Get the attention, educate, nurture, build some know, like, and trust, make an offer to allow people to buy something from you. And as our friend Kevin Knevel put it, and I thought this was absolutely brilliant in the interview, he says, a lot of people ignore this, especially when they're online. We're less likely to do this in person, but when we're online, there tends to be a big rush between getting attention and buy now. Get attention, buy now. And he says what they're doing is they're treating their potential clients, they're acting like a pit bull on a postman. They're just attacking right away, kind of a thing in the marketing. So you definitely don't want to do that. When you move too fast, sometimes you may have had this. You may have had this experience. If you've been to a lot of business networking events, you've been cornered by somebody who gives you kind of this feeling of the pit bull on the postman. They won't take no for an answer. They won't let you go. They got to tell you everything about this thing that they're doing, and they want you to buy it right now. I think we've all been through that kind of a situation, and we don't like it. So why would you do that to your clients? The other place where we get rushed is not just in that sales process with individual clients, but also looking at our business as a whole. Instead of thinking through a business in terms of a natural cycle and plant a few seeds here and water them and nurture them, let them grow and plant some seeds over here, there's this expectation that we should be able to harvest right away. A lot of marketing pitches are, when you unpack what they're actually saying, it's a kind of a get rich quick. How to scale your business overnight, how to double your income, double your time off in 30 days, how to get 6 figures in 3 months, that kind of stuff. We get a lot of messaging like that creates some unrealistic expectations that go against the natural world. And business is a natural world too. And for us, for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, we often have really big plans. There's a sense of natural urgency behind what we do, that we want to change the world. We want to make a difference. We want to help. We want to make an impact. Like that's kind of the place that purpose-driven entrepreneurs come from, is let's change the world, and can we change it fast? Let's get it going. I want to help a lot of people, and I want to do that right now. So we're starting from this position. It's like, how do I reach a lot of people? And sometimes this perspective has us looking at our little bouncing baby business and expecting it to run before it's ready. The business itself needs this natural progression. You need to learn some basic skills and capabilities. It's just like this little baby is going to need to grow stronger and learn how to crawl and toddle before it starts walking, before it starts running. And a business is like that too. And I know I don't have kids, but my nephews seem to go from itty bitty like this to in their 20s, like practically overnight. It goes faster, or it can go faster than you expect. And sometimes when we're in the baby stage, we can go, oh, it's going to be like this forever. And it's not. You can evolve quite quickly if you're focusing on what you need to focus on right now in your business, rather than looking too far ahead and trying to make your business do something that it's not ready for, make you do something that it's not ready for. And that brings us to this delightful white screen here, on which I'm going to build out a little table here that talks about levels. And this is something that Georgie and I have really noticed in the last couple of weeks, is a couple of distinctions here in terms of levels. And this can be really helpful for you in deciding where you need to focus now and what needs to wait until later. There's kind of natural places in your business where you want to do things. So we talked earlier about this idea of marketing where you want to generate some leads, get some people interested, attract some attention. The next piece is you want to have that sales process, build the know, like, and trust, and the nurture, the education, and then make an offer. And this is how you'll make money. You get the client, make an offer, make money. We've identified 3 different levels. we'll talk about today, and each level has a different focus to it. So I'm going to give you the levels first so you can get a sense of what they are. The first one is what we call level 1, and this is from just getting started to about $3,000 a month. The numbers that we've placed on it is working with at least 10 clients, making at least $10,000, ideally in the last 3 months, last 6 months, somewhere in there. This level 1 of getting your first few clients is different from the other levels in a huge way. There is an enormous amount of growth between 0 to about $3,000 per month, specific things that have to happen to enable a business to move to the next level. Level 2 business, somewhere around $3,000 a month or more. You can start looking at some of the level 2 stuff a little bit earlier than that, but when you're at that place, $3,000 a month or more, you are definitely in this level 2. And you can start looking at more of the level 2 sorts of activities. And level 3 is that $10,000 per month or more level for business. So it's be pretty easy for you to slot yourself in right now based on your current business as to what level you're in. If you're just getting started, if you're below that $3,000 per month, a lot of hit and miss kind of stuff. And I would also invite you to think about your business, not necessarily right now, especially if you've been impacted by what's going on right now, but where you were a couple of months before. Just to take a look at that, and you can get a sense of where you're at in this business. And the focus for each of these things is different. So when you're a level 1 business, it's like that little baby business. And what you're doing at level 1 is you're gathering information. We talked last week about this idea market research. That's what's happening. It's about gathering information, figuring out what you're going to offer, who your clients are, what they're going to buy and why, and building skills. There are a lot of newer entrepreneurs look at business and they go, oh, that's pretty easy, because it's kind of like Georgie and her painting the rocks. You see the finished thing and you go, oh, no big deal. That looks pretty simple. I can do that. And then you realize that, whoa, maybe it's not so easy. And this is about skills. I'm willing to bet that if Georgie took a rock painting class, she could probably paint some really delightful rocks fairly soon. So it is about building skills and about learning. You need some basic sales and marketing skills, and to gather the information and to practice that stuff. This is that uncomfortable learning, and it's a little like babies who keep falling on their butts when they're trying to walk. There's a lot of this happening in level 1, and a lot of us want to avoid it. We don't want to do that work. We want to skip ahead. And there are plenty of people who will promise us that we can, but the reality is you need to. You need to learn those skills, and you need to gather real information. That's the focus on level 1. The delightful thing about level 1 is you've got a lot of freedom for experimenting, for trying new things. You don't have to make a lot of decisions. You don't have to cement things into stone before you're ready. There's a lot of freedom and flexibility and creativity, and it can be a lot of fun. There's a lot of upside to the process of level 1. Level 2 is when you have an opportunity to start refining things. You're very much clearer on who it is that you want to work with, who is willing to pay you, who gets the best results, who you enjoy working with the most, how to structure your services in a way that your clients get the most value out of it. You'll have the information necessary to create good messaging and good marketing materials. So level 2 is about that, taking the clarity you learn in level 1 and pulling it together. This is where things come together really nicely, and you feel like you know what you're doing, you know who you're serving, you know what you're selling, you know how to talk about it. That's the stuff you work on in level 2. Level 3 is about things like scaling and automating. And the thing about scaling and automating, and a lot of people come to us trying to scale and automate before they've been through level 1 and level 2, is that scaling and automating is about taking something that you know works and making it bigger. the problem is if you don't know what works and you don't have the messaging, you can end up spending a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort towards something that simply isn't working. So there's this temptation to want to move there first. But the reality is that you don't ever have to do that, depending on what you want for a business. So you'll notice that when I've got in there level 2 is $3,000 per month or more. It's completely possible to have a business that's primarily a level 2 and still make $250,000, $500,000 a year. It's like you don't have to do the automating and the scaling and all of that in order to have that kind of business. It's optional. And for, as mentioned earlier, for a lot of purpose-driven businesses, we want to reach a lot of people. So that may be very, very appealing, but you still have to go through the other levels before you can do that successfully. And what happens is a lot of times people take programs about scaling and about automating, and the advice that they're getting is awesome for people who are at a level 2 in their business. And those are the people that get really great results, because if you have all of that information, if you've got great messaging, you've got an offer that sells, who's going to buy it, you're just primed to do the scaling and the automating, and you can totally clean up. But if you don't have that information, you're just guessing, and it doesn't work, and it's not possible for you to actually implement it, which is super frustrating, especially if you're watching other people in the program, just their results go through the roof, and you're like, what the hell? So this is one of the things that we're noticing. This is why it's so important to pay attention to what the levels are. So what you want to do in each one of, for lead, sales, and offer, when you're in level 1, what you want to do is direct outreach. And direct outreach can be meeting people at networking events when you're allowed to go out. It could be about calling people directly, emailing people directly, talking to the people that you know. It can be meeting people on social media. There's lots of ways to meet people. But what you're wanting to do is connect with them one at a time. And for the sales piece, the building the know, like, and trust, you're going to want to have one-to-one conversations with people. To get on the phone or get on a Zoom when we're allowed to go out and have coffee with them, that kind of thing. But build up that know, like, and trust one at a time, one person at a time, and that's where you can gather the information and building the skills. Then in terms of your offer, you don't want to lock in too much because you don't know. So really, when you make an offer, it's more about listening to what the person is looking for and then offering them a customized solution rather than saying, I've got this program that I invented in my head that nobody has ever been through, so you have to go through this lockstep. It's more like, I see that you're struggling with this and this, and I can help. Here are some ways that we can work together, and you can keep it customized. You can be prescriptive. You can take a look at what their problem is, and you can say, here's what I think will help, and to keep it flexible. This way, you get to do that gathering of information and the building of skills, and you take on some clients, and you become better at having these conversations. You become better at offering the services. And this sounds like a slow way to do things, but it can actually be really, really fast. One of our clients took our advice very reluctantly and reached out to people that she knew, booked in one-to-one conversations. First 5 conversations she had, 4 people bought from her. Like, it went really fast from frustrated, nobody's buying anything, to super quick, make some sales right away. Because when you do things on this one-to-one level and you're flexible, it's a lot easier for people to say yes to you because you're offering them something that is exactly fits what they're looking for. And through this, you gather the information. And then after you've made a few sales, worked with a few clients, started to make some money, you develop a lot of confidence because you know how to do this stuff. You start to develop a reputation. You can get referrals. You can get testimonials. People will refer you to other people. And then when you move into level 2, the information you need to make it work is there. So in level 2, you can start finding leads through social media, through writing articles, through creating videos, through being interviewed. You know what you're wanting to say because you've talked to enough clients to know what it is that they're looking for. So the messaging becomes easier. And you can start to develop things in your business that will help you make sales, like having a website that's really clear about what you offer and who you work with, and has really strong messaging on it, because the messaging that you got came from your clients. We're going to talk about this on Wednesday when we talk about messaging and about being client-centered, is that your clients will tell you how to sell to them. They'll tell you what they want. They will give you the words. If you're struggling, trying to write copy for your website, trying to figure out what you would say in an ebook or a webinar, it's probably because either you haven't had enough clients yet, or you haven't listened enough to what they've said, because they will tell you exactly how to market to them. So you'll have those words. And the mission in level 2 is to build this stuff up. And this will help you sell more easily, help you sell faster. You can build that know, like, and trust in a group, or while you're not even there. You don't have to have a conversation. Your website will have a conversation for you. And it's at this point where you can start to look at packaging your services. Now you know, because you've worked with clients, that there are these 5 things that you do with most of your clients. It's like, okay, here's a package. We're going to do these 5 things. And if you have enough people coming to you, now's when you can start looking for a group, like offering a group or something like that, because you're more ready to do this. And then you can stay here forever if you want, depending on how big you want to make your business. There are lots and lots of, like we were talking about this last week, these quiet businesses that you've never heard of before, that are just simply making a good living, doing their thing. They're here. They're at this kind of a level 2 business. They've got a decent website that talks about what they do. They might have an ebook or a webinar. They may be doing some regular content marketing, a newsletter, posting on social media. And a lot of times their sales is still a one-to-one conversation, and a lot of times their offer is still customized, flexible, prescriptive. You don't have to offer packages or groups if you don't want to. You can just stay with that one-to-one stuff. And we'll look at money on Friday. We're going to look at money and pricing and how that might work. And then when you look at level 3, totally optional. If you want to grow it bigger, this is where you start investing money into your business to grow it. So you're looking at things like paying for ads. Paying for ads before you have good messaging and you don't know what you're selling or who's going to buy it can get very expensive very fast. We know people who spent hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in advertising that led to nothing because they didn't have actual clarity about what it about what would work really. And then when you can start to develop a little bit more profile. This is where you get opportunities to speak in front of large audiences, where you can partner with other people to promote what you're doing, and you're large enough for them to consider that. So that's more of the level 3. This is where you can put in your automated funnel, and an automated funnel really is a computerized replacement for a one-on-one conversation with you. And if you don't know what you would say in that one-on-one conversation, if you haven't had that one-on-one conversation in a way that works, you're just making guesses as to what will work in a funnel. Once again, lots of people put a lot of time and effort and money into these things, and they don't work because they're not able to do this at a one-to-one level. They're trying to go right up to the top right away. And this is digital products and courses, things that are lower in price. And we'll look at this on Friday as well. But when you look at lower price things, you have to sell a whole lot more of them in order to make any kind of decent money. And that requires a large audience. And when you're just starting out, you don't have that large audience. And if you try to build an audience without knowing what it is that you're selling, you can end up with a large audience that doesn't buy anything. So there's lots of kind of tricky territory here. And the thing that happens is people who have level 3 businesses and teach level 3 techniques are the people that you've heard of. They're the ones that are paying for those ads so that you see them. They have big audiences, they have these partnerships, and they are really offering something that's awesome for a solid level 2 business to take them up on. I remember reading Jeff Walker's launch book. If you've heard of product launch formula, is a level 3 type of an approach. And I remember reading through it and I'm like, wow, for somebody that has a really good established business, this thing would be like a license to print money. Like, it's amazing what can happen with these level 3 programs if you're ready for it. However, if you're not ready for it, it's simply not going to work. That's, you know, reality. But so if that's you, like if you've been taking this kind of advice around, you need to run ads, you need to set up a funnel, you need to create a product, you need to have a course, scaling and automating and all of that stuff, great to have that in the future as where you want to go. But if you want that stuff to work, pay attention to where you're at right now. And when you pay attention to where you're at right now, you're actually going to move faster than trying to get to the end without going through the middle. So one final thing to really just bring this down to reality. When we're looking at these levels, it's for different offers in different markets. Anytime you're starting something new, you're really beginning at level 1. So you may have a successful business running at a level 2 or even a level 3 for a specific offer. When you want to offer something else, it can be really, really smart to have some one-on-one conversations with some people before you offer it. And plenty of people with huge audiences and lots of experience and lots of success have launched things that didn't work. It happens. We don't hear about it, but it absolutely happens. That they might even invest a whole lot of time and money and effort into it and have it not get the sales that they're looking for. So you may have heard something like this, you know, the idea that success leaves clues, or you need to model somebody who is where you want to be. One of the problems is we tend to look at those people as to let's model what they're doing now. So we see people who are like, okay, I'm putting together my my signature package, and I have 3 courses, and I want to do a free ebook and a webinar series, and I'm going to speak on stages and become a professional speaker, and you know, I'm doing all of these things. You know, here's 7 courses that I have planned, and I need all this the technical systems in place, and I need to do all of these things before I start my business because I want to be exactly like this person. And that's what they have. The advice to take a look at what successful people are doing and then follow them is great. However, take a look at where they started, not so much where they finished. And we talked about this last week, is this idea of, you know, the overnight successes taking 10 years or more. Is they didn't start with all of that stuff. They started at level 1 with everybody else. Every business starts with no clients, with no sales. Like, we all start at that level 1 the place. And even those people that you look at and you go, wow, they're so amazing, they're so successful, and they didn't get there overnight. The legit ones did not get there overnight. They all started at the beginning just like you. And imagination, visioning, that sort of thing is wonderful for thinking about where you want to go in life, what you want your business to look like, creating kind of a long-term picture of what you want. But it's terrible when you are imagining who your clients are, imagining what their problems are, imagining what they want. You're just taking guesses, and most of the time those guesses are not going to be accurate. Nothing beats having real data and information that you get by having those conversations. And Now I'll let my co-host talk.
What's that?
Now I'll let my co-host talk.
Well, I think what's been really great, I see someone has to leave now, but it was a great session. See you tomorrow. Yes, we will see you tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow. I think one of the important things to remember as we're going through these things too is that it really is about taking that consistent action and really being aware of what level that you are at. Because it's like, you know, we're planting seeds, we're planting seeds, we're planting seeds. If you were going to, you know, say have a tree farm or plant a forest, would you only plant one tree seed and then expect that tree to suddenly grow a forest? No, we plant, 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 plant. If you're growing, you know, vegetables and crops, you don't plant just one seed. It's a continuous, hundreds and thousands of seeds that you're planting, so many seeds. And then we water them and then we take care of them. And then before we know it, we have a forest. But you can't skip those beginning steps, right? And you have to nurture those seeds, you know, give them the sun, give them the water, give them some food maybe. We can't skip steps, but we have to take the consistent action that's going to lead us to where we want to go in our business. And I think that's why it can be so tempting to want to skip level one. Or we can get frustrated because we think, well, you know, I've invited 4 people and no one's talking to me. 4 people, 4 seeds does not make a forest, you know? Like we have to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And so it's easy to get a bit frustrated because we look at what it seems like everybody else is doing so well, and we forget to go back to those basic pieces. And we often talk about, we get it, you know, level 1, this stuff, it doesn't seem sexy. It's not the fun stuff, you know, and it's the most important pieces that you have to do it. Like you really can't avoid it if you want to build something stable, something sustainable, something that will carry on for a long period of time. And it, like Patty was saying, it doesn't have to take forever. You know, like there's some seeds and plants that grow really, really quickly. Awesome. That can be like your business. Some take a little more time. But once you continue doing this, eventually, then you start getting referrals. So your plants are making seeds and you're getting those seeds, right? Like we can follow the cycle of nature. So it gives us such a great example of life, of business. You know, it's really, I think it's a really, really great thing. And often we just forget, we just look at, oh, look at that forest, been there forever. It wasn't always like that, right? It started with these tiny little seeds, grew into little seedlings, eventually grew into big tall trees. And I think it's just that faith, that belief, and that consistent doing, focusing on, you know, loving the process, loving the journey, not being so focused on the outcome of what's eventually going to happen, but really enjoying each step of the way. Because eventually you will have more one-on-one people than you can handle. There will be too many people to talk to. But if you love that process, it'll happen probably faster than you think it will. I see we have a Q&A too. Ooh, this is a good one for you. I love questions. If anyone on Facebook too, please put your questions in the comments because I will see them. So if you're selling in the pandemic environment and people are afraid of paying thousands for personal coaching, hard to not do group coaching. It's still financially more viable with small courses than not getting the clients.
Depends on how big your audience is. If you've got lots of people on, say, an email list that have bought from you before, if you can reach tons of people and you're at a stage in your business that you can do that in, then running a group course is great. But if you're starting from very few contacts, you can still do a group, but you're going to be looking at filling that group one conversation at a time, basically. And that, by the way, is a great way to fill a group, is contacting people individually, and you can offer them an option. They can work with you one-on-one, or they can be part of your group, as long as the expectation is in alignment with the number of people that you can reach. Like, people tend to struggle with either the lead generation or the sales conversation part of it, sometimes both. But offering something cheaper doesn't solve not having enough leads. you know, changing what you offer, it doesn't change not having enough people to offer it to. And sometimes with some people, we tend to rather play around with the offer rather than play around with how can I reach more people. So that's that part. And it may be true in this environment that people are less willing to spend money, and maybe it's not true.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. How do we know? You know, or is it kind of that everybody's not buying, or maybe there's some people that aren't buying, and how do I find the people that are buying? You know, and I think often we think that if I do a group or I do a course, it's going to be easier to sell. And we haven't gone back to level one. We haven't had the conversations with people. We actually don't know what they want to buy. So we're back in that imagination phase of I'm just going to create a course and I'm going to put it on my website, and we believe people will come and buy it. Much like my rock movement, right? I believe it's going to happen. And I haven't done any talking, any kinds of things actually to put that into place. But I think I get totally where it comes from, because we see, well, if I get 10 people who pay me $1,000, that's $10,000. That's amazing. It's going to be really hard to do that one-on-one, you know? And so it's logically, we think that makes sense, and that the pieces to make that happen are exactly the same. If we don't know what people want, if we don't know how we need to communicate that to them, and that course or that group still isn't going to sell. You know, it still comes down to these fundamental pieces.
Yeah.
And there's very much that belief that you build it first and then you sell it. And the number of times I've had people tell me, oh, I'm going to build my course, then I'm going to get you to help me market it, or I'm going to write my book, then I'm going to get someone to help me market it. And you really want to flip it upside down. You want to find out what are people going to buy, and then develop a course based on what they want.
Exactly.
And it's often super, super helpful to run through what you want to do with the course one-on-one with somebody before you start, putting it in a package and trying to get a lot of people into it.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, one conversation at a time. I struggle with both lead generation and sales. And I think one of the most common problems with people is that we're not having enough conversations with people. So then it comes down to, how do I have more conversations with people? How do I find those people? How do I talk to those people, right? How do we find the people that are buying? And this comes back to that, planting seeds. And the reality is, this does not happen in an hour a day. It doesn't. We like to believe that it does. We like to believe that, oh, I'm just going to go out there, I'm going to make a post on social media, people will see it and people will call us. No, they won't. It requires some really proactive, actual activity. It requires focused intention, and it requires a lot of it. That's how you get them. It doesn't happen in an hour. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes, and it's not going to happen from your social media post. Now, you can use those things to then start to go, oh, who's liking, who's commenting, who else can I go talk to? Who are the people that I think I might want to do work with? How do I reach out to them? But the reality, and this Kevin Knevel, which we've talked about today, we will post that interview this week for sure. He talks about, I think it's 24 hours in your week should be spent on that reaching out to people. And that's one of the things, right? And we'll definitely share more information on that, on how do I reach out to people? What do I do 24 hours? Are you joking? But yeah, I'm not joking, actually, especially if you're in that beginning phase, because that's the thing. You have to have people to talk to. You have to. How do we do that? And so often I think these are some of those fundamental skills that we aren't taught, right? We just don't know. Everybody says it, but no one's telling you, how do I do it? Where do I find those people? I don't know how to do that. And it will make or break you. Yeah. I do market research, but quarantine and working from home is changing everything. And we have the internet. you can reach more people in that 24 hours through technology than you actually could probably going coffee meeting. And we'll add that to our agenda to have a nice good call on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to
you
add
can
to
have
that.
coffee. You can have coffee meetings via Zoom too.
Totally. I did that just the other day. I grab my tea and have a Zoom virtual tea. You know, it's great.
I think too, the other thing that comes up for a lot of people is that this idea of attracting attention to ourselves, getting people to pay attention, putting ourselves out there is often scary. It's something that we avoid. And the same thing with sales conversations or having one-to-one conversations with people. If you're not comfortable with that, if you're not sure what to say or how to handle that, it can seem really scary. And it's something that we resist and we procrastinate and we don't want to do. And I'm speaking here from experience. Is I resisted that stuff for a long time in my own business. That's how I learned to write good copy. Is I found that if I could write really good copy, I could get people to show up at an event and then I could meet them there. But I didn't start to actually make any money in my business until I got to this place where I was willing to have conversations with the people that showed up, to take it deeper. I had this expectation that if I wrote great web copy, they would just buy off my website. It doesn't work that well. Whereas having conversations with people changed everything. And what it does is it kind of blows away your assumptions. When I started my business, I thought I knew exactly who my ideal clients were, exactly what I should be offering them, exactly what they needed, why they needed it, and why they would buy it. And then when I had real clients paying me money, I realized they were not the people I thought they would be. They were not interested in what I was offering them. They wanted something else. And when those pieces locked into place, I'm like, okay, I get it. Then I'd have the one-to-one conversations with them. And what I discovered, and this is the amazing part, if you can relate to what I'm saying about not being comfortable with having those conversations, because I was scared shitless is how I would describe that. Is that once you've had a few of those conversations and once you figure out how it works, you realize that, oh, they're just people and people are nice and conversations are pleasant. And this sales thing can be a lot more like coaching or counseling, especially if you do it in a respectful way instead of trying to run people through some shitty enrollment script or try to, manipulate them into buying or whatever. When you drop all that crap and have a conversation with a real live human being, you'll realize that if they need what you have to offer, and you have a conversation around that you can bumble your way through it. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up as a human. It's a conversation. It's something that you do all of the time. And you realize that ideal clients are people that you like. Like, they're nice people. I love my clients. I love talking to my clients. And because before I had those conversations, like I had in my mind that somehow clients were going to be critical and they were going to be difficult and unpleasant to talk to, and that I was going to have to do things I didn't want to do. But the beauty of embracing level 1 is you might discover that you really like it, and it's not as hard as you thought it would be, and that it makes everything easier. But yeah, so if that's you, that's just a little public service announcement if you're not built like Georgie.
Even I get nervous sometimes, like it's like, okay. And then but it is going back to that reminder that, oh, this is just another human on the end of this conversation, on the end of this comment, on the end of this call. And it's really just an exciting time to get to know somebody,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good thing for sure. Okay, we have another comment here. 2 great concepts for me so far from this presentation. First is being aware of where you are at and market to and focus your energy there. It can be overwhelming and honestly defeating watching and listening to people wanting to sell their way of marketing that is actually for a higher level than where I'm at, but I can beat myself up at times for not incorporating what they are selling. Also, this concept allows me to enjoy each stage of the journey along the way. when I focus on the level I'm at. Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, the people who are really good at selling level 3 stuff have a way of addressing that kind of fear that I talked about not wanting to talk to individual people, and they turn it into, oh, talking to individual people is stupid. It's a waste of your time. Are you wasting your time having conversations with one-to-one? Are you wasting your time with cold calls and stuff like that? Like, they have a way of twisting it, like you shouldn't be doing it. Oh, you shouldn't be trading time for money is one of those things. And it's like, hello, that's what being in business is about. You are trading your time for money. The 4-hour work week was a lie. It was a title that sold a lot of books, but Tim Ferriss does not work 4 hours a week. You know, we can mess around with the language, but the people who, you know, who are selling those level 3 programs have a way of kind of shaming the necessary business building tasks that happen at the bottom. And it's terrible. And it's great information. It's actually really relevant, valid information if you happen to be at a full capacity level 2 kind of business where you have more clients than you can handle, and you're working ridiculously long hours just to service your clients, and that you find yourself dropping balls and you can't grow your business anymore because you have no capacity and you've got more demand than you can deal with. Then yeah, at that level, if you want to grow, then thinking about doing things in groups or automating and outsourcing and getting some help is exactly what you need to do at that level. But it's way too premature if you're just if you're at a lower level. If you're not at capacity yet or getting close to it, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
We have a Facebook comment.
Yes.
People are not open to have conversations because they know it leads to a sales pitch. You know,
has that been your experience, Georgie?
That is not my experience at all. And I think this is the thing, right? It's how do you approach the conversation? If you're going in just to pitch, you're right. That's what people expect. But in my experience, I have conversations all the time, like all the time. Even like now, I still have like so many conversations. Yeah, and I think that's where the responsibility becomes on us when I'm reaching out to someone. How am I reaching out? What am I saying? Am I being that pit bull on the mailman, right? In my first reach out, am I being kind of pushy? Am I not being authentic? Am I hiding information from people? Right? How is my initial reach out? And then what am I saying after? You know, I think this is what people forget is this is a conversation. It's a conversation between two people where I'm getting to know you. I want to see what kind of common interests we might have, all those kinds of things. And a lot of that can be done before you even get on the phone. Or maybe it happens in an initial call. But for the way we do things, we never do a pitch in a conversation like that. We don't actually even really pitch, right? That's why we offer things of value, but that thing of value that we offer, we don't offer that. It's not like, hey, my name's Georgie. Do you want to take a free assessment? No. How do I even know that they're interested or that it's even a fit for where they're at? Right? If I don't have a conversation with someone to get to know someone, to learn more about their situation, how do I even know I have anything that's going to help them? So in my experience, there's a gazillion people out there that are actually open to having conversations. It's just how are we approaching that and approaching them?
Yeah. And it's a cold, warm, hot thing.
Yeah.
What you'll find is if you're having a conversation that is a sales conversation about, where you have the expectation that the conversation is going to lead to talking about your service and making an offer to them. So people who are on the warm to hot kind of temperature are going to be way more open to doing that. Whereas the people that are on that cold side, it might make sense to just have a getting to know you kind of a conversation. It's a little like when you think about going to a networking event in person, where you might meet somebody and you have this little chit chat about the weather, about business, about about your dogs and your cats and your kids, and you have this chance to warm up and talk a little bit kind of in general about stuff before you get down to talking about business. And in that conversation, you can gauge whether or not there's somebody that you think that you can help, and you can have this sense of whether or not you can move forward a little bit like that. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's also the how do you make that conversation valuable to the other person? And in a way, you're needing to sell or market that free conversation that you have with people. Just because it's free doesn't mean that people are going to sign up for it.
Exactly. Great questions, great conversation today. I see we're just a little bit over time. But thank you guys for hanging in there with us again for the full hour. That's been really great. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of what the topic is tomorrow. Patty?
I think we're talking about clients. I think we're talking about about whether or not you need a niche.
Yes.
How to market without a niche.
Yes, tomorrow is all about how to market without a niche. So if you're one of those people that's been wondering, I'm not that defined, do I have to be? Then join us tomorrow because we're going to talk more about that. So thank you. Have a fantastic Monday. If you have any other questions too that come up for you, please feel free to, if you go to our Facebook page, leave us your questions, your comments there, and we are happy to adjust them, or email us, phone us, text us, Zoom us, whatever.
If you have any ideas for topics you want us to discuss, let us know that as well.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.